morning, watchers. Scott at SA Landscaping. It is the Friday before Saltex, and I'm sure everybody's very excited about going. But coming back to today, it has rained again all week in the northeast of England. I've just been out to look at some football pitches this morning, which I can't mark because they're just too wet. So I'm gonna have to send a few messages that the games can't go ahead. Unfortunately, it's possibly rained for sort of 2 weeks now up north. So if you're someone who just cuts grass, the mow blown go men, chances are you're not going to be cutting again, and unfortunately your last cuts in your season's going to finish early, which doesn't help the bank balance, but unfortunately that's the trade we're in. So it's dry today, but it's still misty, but it's, well, not dry, the ground's wet, but it's dry as in it's not raining, but it's supposed to rain again tomorrow and Sunday. So like I say, the mowers just, there's nothing you can mow really at the moment, unless we get a whole dry week and still getting temperatures. So for instance, it's 10 degrees today. If you're still getting temperatures and you get a good week, then fair enough, you could possibly get some more grass cutting in. But if not, I saw our local council were out with Ransom's triples the other day, and they got shot to bits on social media for just making a mess and just wheel spinning, and generally a ton and a half machine on wet grass isn't ideal. And then I saw a guy last night cutting a couple of gardens in the rain, and the mower, I'll not mention it, but the mower of choice he had, I know that every strip he went up that garden he'll be emptying his chute out, unfortunately. So that was something I saw last night on the way home. So I'm still busy. The flexibility I've got is I am now going to put some bulbs in. So I've got quite a lot of bulbs that I can get on and put in. So that keeps me busy. It's having the flexibility to, if I wasn't putting bulbs in today, I could also drop on hedges. I've got some trees to lift on jobs that I could do early that I used to do after Christmas. So there's so much to do. I'm quite lucky that like I say, the diverse amount of work we do, we don't just mow, blow and go, that we can get on with other stuff, which is good. So that is the plan for today. We're going to do some bulb planting, drop a little video in a bit maybe as well, if we get time. So I have got the mower with us. I've got a heater with me because the grass is still growing, and where I'm going to put the bulbs, what I like to do is, some people prefer to spray the grass, spray a line. I prefer to just go at it with the mower and just cut a like loop or a sway or whatever into the grass with the machine, and then that gives you the idea where you need to dig the bulbs at. So that is what we'll be doing today. But coming back to Saltex, really looking forward to it. It's good to meet up with my buddies once a year. Yes, I do meet up with some of them at other events, but this is the big one where we all meet up and we have a good night out afterwards as well, which isn't what I really go for, but it all helps. So Saltex is a bit, you've got the best in the industry in my eyes from all different areas of the country. I mean, you look at people like Robbie coming over from Ireland, and Dave Warner, for instance, just to mention a couple of lawn guys. They turned out some of the best work you'll see around the country, or around the UK, sorry. And then you've got people like Paul Anderton up in Manchester, and he's if you watch his pruning videos and you see some of his stuff that he puts on, I mean, the jobs he's turned out, they're just immaculate. So it really is, like I say, the best people in the industry that go to Saltex, and it's good to chat to people while you're there. Not forgetting the best mower repairer in the country from London, our friend Greg's Mown. I think he knows more than Douglas Hayter did about Hayter mowers. So there you go. If you need your Hayter repairing, get in touch with Greg. And there's countless other people. Like I say, there's a huge group who we meet up with. But there's a few people not going, and the few people not going went to Groundsfest a couple of months ago. It's a new event and it's making big waves in the industry. But I've been speaking to a few people, and Saltex and BTME, which is bigger, are sort of getting their heads together, I think, because they fearing this Grounds Fest a bit, and they're getting their heads together to work together and try and put up a bit of competition. So I don't think Saltex has listened to people for years. I think they've just gone about it their own way, whereas Grounds Fest sort of listen to people, and that's how their event seems to have done well, and I think it will grow. And I think Saltex now realise that they have to listen to people. So like I say, them and BTME are going to be working together to probably try and go up against Grounds Fest, because I know Saltex is expensive. I spoke to one dealer, manufacturer dealer, one company who's usually at Saltex the other day, and he was saying they spent £30,000 last year on the floor space, and that was before electric and everything else, so that was just for the bit of carpet. So that gives you a rough idea that it's not a cheap event. Yes, obviously NEC will probably take a lot of that money, that's not all going to Saltex, but that just gives you a rough idea of how expensive it is for these companies to go to. So they're going to need big numbers. I think was there 8,000 people went last year, so they're going to need big numbers, and they're going to need to sell a lot of equipment to make that £30,000 of cash back. And there's numerous other companies like that. There's some companies that'll be spending more than £30,000. Some companies that I can think of, when I look back at this man's stand for 30,000, some companies will be 70, 80,000. So that's another thing. I think Grounds Fest's a lot cheaper. Obviously you don't pay parking. With Saltex for the 2 days you're paying sort of 30 quid for parking as well. So that's on top of everything else. So it'll be interesting to see what the numbers are like after Grounds Fest, as to whether the 8,000 people that went last year, if the numbers drop. And I don't know how they work the 8,000 out. I don't know if that's individual visits, or if that's the likes of me and my buddies who go in day 1 and get scanned, go in day 2 and get scanned. Do they take that as individual scans on individual days, or do they take that as me being there 2 days but only one of the 8,000? I don't know. That'll be interesting to see, because if they do take me as 2, then that 8,000 might be near 6,000. I don't know. There's a hell of a lot of people go for the 2 days. So looking forward to the event. Like I say, my budget this year is already pretty much set. I know what I'm going to buy, but if something pops up at Saltex, then I can juggle things around a bit, I suppose, and come up with another plan. But I think it's rare that I go there and I usually go there and I usually know what I'm going to look at. So, and then obviously place the orders afterwards. I was going to trade my chipper in this coming year, but I'm going to hang on to that for another year at the moment. They've shot up in price from the £12,000 I paid in 2019. They are now, I believe, somewhere in the region of 18 for the Timbol's TW160. But I'm also looking at a Hashi track chipper, which I've got a demo organised for that as well, which is a little machine TH Whites are important. So, like I say, we're going to get a little bit of footage of these bulbs and see how we get on with the wet ground. So, let's open it up, and we have got this is double mixed orange, white, yellow, peach. So the flower heads come out of the double mixture, and we've got 180 bulbs. So the plan is to plant them on this grass here, and we're just going to cut a strip with the hater first. 6 inches deep, a couple inches apart, and they will thicken up themselves over the years. Two fall over, it doesn't matter so much with daffodils because they do correct themselves. Some bulbs don't, but daffodils will turn themselves around in the ground. To finish off, it's as easy as putting turf down. Job done. Can't even see where we've been. So 180 bulbs there in probably 15-20 minutes, to be fair. When you drift planting, you can plant thousands in a day, especially if it's two of you. If there's one digging out before and then you're putting the bulbs in, then they're dropping back off. You can plant literally tens of thousands of bulbs in a day. Various ways to plant bulbs. Like I say, that's the easiest one with drift planting. You can use turf cutters, but they're only good for smaller bulbs where they just take the top off. Every bulb's depth is different. It's usually 2 or 3 times the bulb. So daffodils are 6 inches, tulips tend to be sort of 3 inches. So turf cutters wouldn't be any good for daffs. That's why the spade's the easiest option. You can use the augers on the end of the drills, which are quite good for dot planting bulbs, or the little hand bulb planters, but in grass obviously it's tough. So that is the way I've used for a lot of years. A lot easier cutting it with a mower as well first, just so that you can see where you are. You can either spray lines with paint or you can cut with a mower, and I just cut a nice swerve there. It's right next to the road, it's right next to a busy road. So like I say, come March, April, these are earlies. They will stand out and look really good, especially the colour I've selected as well, the orangey yellowy white colour. They're not just the basic yellow daffodils you see everywhere. They come up quite nice. So that is task number 1 done. Like I say, I've still got back at the yard thousands of bulbs still to put in, but just little bits here and there. If you can just fill a couple of hours in the middle of the day. I was ahead of schedule today, so I thought I'd get these put in. So daffodils in, customer will be happy come the spring. And any questions on bulb planting and things, like I say, the key is to read up, because every bulb's different. Crocuses and things, you need to be just scraping the turf or scraping the soil back very lightly. You don't want to plant them too deep. Daffodils, yes, you can get away with planting a bit deeper because they will find the way up. Too shallow, sometimes they'll fall over. Same with tulips. Tulips are one that you need to get right, the rigid plant, and if they're too shallow the wind hits them and they fall over, so you need to follow the guidelines with them. And then firm it up afterwards. Like I say, I walked that and I hit it with a spade, and some might say, well, you're not going to smash the bulbs. No, not really, because it's just compacting the very soft soil. If you were doing it in summer, you'd probably snap the heads off, but you're doing it this time of year, the soil's wet, it is really loose, so you're basically just compacting it. Yes, you might lose one, I'm not saying you're not going to lose any, but that's pretty much it. And like I say, that is how you see these large planting schemes done, just in waves basically, and shapes. So more to come on bulb planting, because like I say, there is a unit full. But any questions, drop them in the comments below. I've been bulb planting for 20 years now and always had good success. But the key is in the quality of the bulb. But that's not always in the supplier. I think I mentioned before, I've bought pound shop bulbs. I've gone through the racks on the pound shops and I've found some that's poor. And then I've gone through other racks and I've found some good quality bulbs, things like dahlias and things at sort of a third of the price of the big guns, and they've come up well. So it's about looking around. Same in B&Q. You can go to B&Q and some bulbs look great when you sift through the nets. Others look poor, and the size as well, size and scale are key. So just make sure you do a bit of research on them. Coming back to work, I did a bit of pruning at the start of this week on a few sites, and basically I've got 16 sites which are finished now. So every week I'm sort of ticking jobs off that I'm not going back to, or I've passed on to the people and I've given the client notice. So like I say, lots less stress, final invoices to write, and yes, in the back of here somewhere you're thinking, is this the right decision? But I think it is, because like you say, you can't keep going on just putting yourself under so much pressure all the time, because you're only here once. So that's me thinking, and like I say, plan, like I said on the previous videos, is cash is still coming in with less work. So I do think that, as I've mentioned before, the amount of work, my turnover could have been double, triple very easily, because everybody wants you. You're recommended, and the work's just there. So yes, potentially I could have been making double, treble what I'm earning and taking home and everything like that. But it comes at a big price, and it's too big a price. So if I was 20 again and I had this amount of work and this problem, I'd be working round the clock and I'd be banking hundreds of thousands of pounds. But like I say, when you're late 40s, it's not as easy a decision. So, but that's just the way it is. Another thing I've done is, I've explained on previous videos, I've always paid more than the local competition, the local council and everything else. And like the guys who pay the minimum wage and stuff, my competitors and people in the area, they still sort of get lots of staff, and they still sort of get staff working for them for that money. And yeah, they might be putting in less, but I've tried to pay more, so you get more out of people. But unfortunately, it doesn't always work. But you do think to yourself that if you could get the right team, if you could get 6 lads who would work the socks off and you rewarded them in this industry, especially, well, where I am anyway, if you could find 6 lads who would work like warriors, you could make an absolute fortune in this trade. But like I say, few and far between. And it basically comes back to a guy I met in the summer who used to work for me years ago. Met him in the petrol station and asked how I was getting on and everything. And he says he's never worked with anybody as hard before and after. He says he used the word relentless at the time, and we left on good terms actually, because he was a going to work with disadvantaged children. He was a gardener by trade, but as well as that he had an NVQ in joinery, and he was going to work with disadvantaged people, young adults who make things and things. So he left, but the door was already always open to come back. But that's what he did say, and it got me thinking, like, about staff. I've gone through a lot of staff. Greg Francis is probably sat in front of his TV now laughing at this, because he's always on about me and my staff. Anyway, yes, I've gone through a lot of staff, but I don't think I've ever treated staff badly. I think the fact is I've always treated them fairly. I've paid them, like I say, above what they get elsewhere. I've had people come to me from other places, and they just haven't been able to match what I've wanted and what I expect, which is, if you get more money, then you need to deliver a lot more work, and unfortunately that's apart from one or two exceptions, that's rarely happened. So but that's probably for another video. I could do one or two videos on staff. So I might save that for Christmas, a bumper edition. So while I'm down there, I've also got a few meetings set up where I'm just going to try and help people make some money, basically. So the plan is, probably still got a couple of gaps, so if anybody needs some help, just drop me a message and contact me, and we can meet up for a coffee. Obviously the stipulation is you buy the coffee if I'm giving out the help. But all you really need to bring is some forecasts, basically, something very simple, like a sheet of paper with your ingoings and outgoings on, your list of clients and the amount of money you're bringing in, your machinery, and just sit down. It'll take probably 5 minutes to have a look at things, see what we can improve on, see where we can go, and hopefully save you money and see if we can make you some more money, just with a few simple questions about your customer base and other things. That's all it takes, and once we know that, we know how we can expand on it. And just sometimes it's simple things like you might be mowing for a customer, and you've just never thought of upselling hedges, power cleaning, and just general things that you can do within your remit. So there is ways to upsell the customers, and then it's the same as while you're in a street. If you've got two customers, you've got to ask yourself, if it's say for example it's a residential street with elderly people, 12 elderly people in say a street, and you've got two customers, why haven't you got 6 customers if they all get gardeners in? Because it should be a knock-on effect. If you're doing a good job for one person, the next one should want you in. And yes, sometimes there's things that where they might have a gardener they've had for years and years, that's fair enough, but a lot of the time what I've found in my younger years was you start off in a village and you get well known, and you just keep picking up customers because they're all friends, they all talk to each other, and it's just a knock-on effect. So just little things, and it's little things you might never have thought of, and it's always good to have somebody else look at your business from the outside with no knowledge of it, and you'd be surprised that 5-10 minute conversation, you could go back home thinking, hey, why didn't I do that, why have I never done that? And hopefully next year you'll have 10, 20, 30,000 pound extra income. So that's just a bit of advice. We'll try and get some footage while we're down at Birmingham. Yes, I understand it is very repetitive. We go there, we meet up, we look at machines, a lot of them similar, but sometimes there's new innovations. People like Camon Trackmaster, for instance, they're always bringing out new products and stuff. So hopefully there'll be quite a lot of new stuff to see with a bit of luck. So we shall try and get a bit of footage while we're down there. And that's it for today, just a short one. So thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next one.